So let's be real. Texting is such a big part of building that attraction, building that chemistry, building that anticipation with that person that we're really into. It's not like back in the day when you could spend time writing a letter, get your pigeon to get it over to them, and then you wouldn't get a response until like 2.5 months later. Now, instant communication, instant contact. And when it comes to texting, there are definitely some ways to come across as more attractive than not. And you may be thinking, okay, but it's just words on a screen, right? But the thing is, there's no intonation, there's no vocal pattern, there's no way of them being able to hear how you're saying something, which means that it's really easy to misinterpret or convey a kind of energy to the other person that maybe you didn't actually intend. So here are some ways to attract a guy over texting. The first thing, consistency is key. For a lot of guys, responding to messages does take a little bit more energy and effort than it does to the average woman. And you may be thinking, why is this? Why would it take more energy for a guy to text a woman or to respond to a woman than just talking to her the way a woman would for a man? Let me ask you, do you have a girlfriend that you text almost every day, if not every day? You know, just to update on what your thoughts are that day, what happened at the store, what happened at the gym, you know, just to keep someone informed of your daily activities. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But talking to your best friend every day is something that is definitely much more common amongst women compared to men. When guys text their guy friends, it's usually because they're talking about something specific. So they're like, hey, did you see the situation? What do you think? Or they are arranging when they're next gonna meet. Guys don't text just to talk. It's not really a male thing. So if a guy is texting you just to talk to you, it's definitely a level of investment for him. On top of the fact, men tend to worry more about texting, right? They want to show that they're interested without coming across as creepy. And we do see this pattern in the world, in society, where it seems like a guy's not as naturally inclined to be texting as much as the woman is. So if you can have it where a guy is consistently using his energy to communicate with you, what happens when we are investing energy into something? Subconsciously, that thing becomes more valuable to us. So if you're messaging a guy and he's responding consistently, whether he realizes it or not, you are becoming more valuable to him because he is investing more energy into you. That's just a little brain hack that you can take away with you. Now, this next thing that you must have in mind when you're texting a guy that you're into is to avoid consistent sexual talk. Not to avoid sexual talk, but to avoid consistent sexual talk, because it means that's all he's going to think about when he thinks about you. And don't get me wrong, I fully acknowledge that using sexual talk is probably the fastest way to get his attention and to get him responding. But it's also going to be the fastest way for him to leave after you have had sex, because so much was focused on that and only that. Which brings me on to the next point. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with sexual talk. So if you do have it, make sure it stays suggestive, not explicit, at least prior to you guys being intimate. Because one, it shows class and it shows value. And two, studies show that men actually find women in lingerie sexier than when a woman is naked. It's about leaving things to his imagination, being suggestive but maintaining some mystery there. The reason I gave that example is because when you are being explicit, you are not allowing the space for his imagination to think about you in certain ways. And that imagination is just him investing energy into you. Because men are visual creatures, okay? And they will easily fill in the blanks themselves. You don't have to be explicit. And this is a way of showing that you're a sexual being, but you're not just about that. Trust me when I say that he will be imagining things just by you suggesting certain things, okay? So you don't need to worry about his investment going down because you're not explicitly saying, oh, this is what I'm gonna do to your whatever. Speaking of being sexy, this next point is the number one way to come across as sexy over texting, and that is to leave voice notes. Hearing someone's voice makes us feel a lot closer than just reading text on the screen. He gets to hear your voice, how you say something, what mood you might be in. And the best part is you can still pre-construct what you're gonna say. You just start recording, and if you say something weird, just cancel that voice note and start a new one. Surveys have shown that we feel much closer and much more comfortable with someone's voice that we hear as opposed to words on a page. And not everyone utilizes this early on, so definitely use this to your advantage. Plus, if you start using voice notes every now and then when you're messaging him, it's very likely that the guy is going to follow suit because you've set a precedent. Guys are much more likely to adapt to a woman's messaging style when he's really into her. Honestly, it's a good way to see if a guy likes you. If you use a lot of emojis, he'll incorporate a lot more emojis. If you put an X at the end of every message, he'll probably put an X at the end of every message as well. So using voice notes on a regular with a guy, it doesn't just make you seem more sexy and attractive and comfortable to him, but because he's likely to follow suit, you're gonna feel more attraction and feel more comfortable with him. This next way that is really attractive to come across in over texting is to send statement texts. And when I say send statement texts, I mean sending texts that don't necessarily require a response. Something like saying, "Good luck for your interview," or "I saw this today and it made me thought of you, hope you had a nice morning." Send him a picture of something you've seen and go, "Oh wow, we definitely have to check this out." The reason statement texts are really attractive to men is because you are staying in communication, but there's no pressure for him to respond to carry on the conversation. Like I said, sometimes guys can feel pressure to message a woman in a way if he's not naturally that inclined to be texting all the time. And while consistency is key, it doesn't have to be all day, every day. Statement texts are a really good way to maintain the energy flow between you, without applying any pressure. Because here's the thing, don't get me wrong, okay? If he likes you, he very likely wants to talk to you. But the last thing we want is for him to feel like it's a chore to respond to your messages. But you just saying, "Hey, good luck with your interview today," or "Have fun with your friends tonight," it just shows your support and it shows that you are a presence in his life with his life affairs. And that is really attractive. This next thing, which isn't about necessarily building attraction, but is to maintain attraction, and something that we have to avoid at all costs, is do not be his pen pal. If you are texting a lot, which is really cool, but you really want to be making sure that you're meeting in person so you're getting to know each other in real life. I know it's really easy to be online and everything's so accessible, but if you end up chatting all the time over messaging without actually going on proper dates, then we risk only being able to converse over messaging. Like, have you ever matched with a guy on a dating app or something and you were chatting for maybe a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and the conversation was really good and it was a really good flow, and then you met with them in real life and then the energy was just flat? Well, that's because when we're texting someone all the time, we build a level of momentum with them. We build a level of rhythm, a beat, a natural push and pull. You build a personal theme that's unique to only you guys texting, but that's over messaging. Talking and exchanging energy in real life is a completely different realm. And often when we text someone so much all the time without actually meeting with them, and then when we do, it doesn't work, it's because when we end up meeting them, we're trying to implement that rhythm, that beat, that energy flow that we had over texting into real life, and it doesn't work the same way. Because in real life, that is a very different way of communicating. I mean, in person, our words only represent 7% of what we're actually communicating to the other person. 38% is from vocal and intonation of how we say something, and 55% is completely non-verbal. And non-verbal communication is stuff like what our body language is saying, where our hands are going, what they're moving like, where our eye contact is. So, always make sure to meet in person. If you're looking for a guy who sparks up your love life, make sure you subscribe to this wonderful tribe. And as always, keep it slick. Pow.